Welcome back, everybody, to Take the Black Live. Hope you enjoyed that. We now have Josh Hill from Fanseta.com on here to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yep.
On this series, Song and Josh, we go through every single chapter of the Song of Ice and Fire series, picking it apart, seeing what makes it work. And we are nearing the end of the first book in the series, A Game of Thrones. We have like a couple chapters left. And we're here to talk about Tyrion 9, the last Tyrion chapter.
Yeah.
9's a lot of Tyrion chapters. What do you say, Josh, to your fans?
Well, hello, first of all, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Julie says good day.
Good day.
Good day. G''D'.
Good day. She's from Australia, isn't she?
Yes.
I didn't want to do the Australian thing because I thought that might be offensive to Julie. So, shrimp on the barbie and all that. No, we're getting to the end here of this. Yeah. This has been a long, strange journey through Game of Thrones, and Tyrion. It's starting to look like. Because in the show, the big thing is him being pit against Tywin, and we even saw that earlier in the chapter when, with the infamous large helmet chapter, in which Tywin is basically like, I kind of wish you would have died on the battlefield.
Yeah, it would have been nice. And again, like admitting it.
Yeah, it's never what you want to hear. And now he's kind of like pulling him into these private conversations here because Jaime, of course, has been captured at River Run, and this is a whole thing for Tywin, which is really kind of a swipe at his pride, because it's the Lannisters who are these powerful beings who are overseeing all of Westeros, and they're untouchable. They feel like they're untouchable, which is what the impression we get from Cersei and Joffrey kind of running roughshod through claiming the throne through probably illegitimate ways. Tywin here has kind of been dealt a blow with Jaime has been captured, and he kind of almost writes him off.
By the Starks.
Yeah, he kind of almost writes him off. And he's like, all right, and that's kind of what Tyrion takes a little bit of offense to.
Yeah, that's Tyrion's prognosis. So really quick, Julie says bad accent, but at least you tried. So
I'll work on it each week a little bit better.
If you want to commit, okay, it's your funeral.
It's for Julie.
And Corinne says hi. Yeah. Let's talk about that moment. Yep. So this chapter is kind of after their battle, after Tyrion, after the Lannisters have defeated Robb Stark's or Roose Bolton's kind of auxiliary army. Yeah. And to me, this chapter is kind of a follow through and setup. Nothing really huge. There's no battle. There's no there's no climax. It's just here's what happened, and now we need to set you up for the next book. So we're going to talk about what's going on. We're going to get Tyrion to where he needs to be, which is King's Landing, where he does his whole hand of the king thing. Yeah. And the entire thing is basically just the Lannisters, Tywin, and Tyrion, and all their lords and advisors in a room talking strategy. Yeah. Like, that's the entire chapter. And this key moment comes when Tywin sends everybody out, Tyrion stays, and he gives him responsibility. You're going to go to King's Landing and be the hand of the king, keep Joffrey in line. And as you said, Tyrion interprets this as, oh, Jaime's captured, you've given up on him, now you're putting this on me. Do you buy his interpretation? Because there was a part of me that said, maybe Tywin honestly thinks you showed some promise. Like Tyrion had the right point when he broke his cup on the ground and just pointed out, look, we're not going to make peace with the Starks even though they're winning. Yeah. Joffrey killed Ned. That was stupid. It can't be done. And he makes some good points there. And he survived the battle. I wonder if Tywin is actually a little impressed with Tyrion, that he managed to get through the Vale without dying. And he recruited a bunch of Vale tribesmen who now has a little private army. Tyrion's done some cool stuff in the past. And Tyrion jumps to the conclusion of, oh, you've given up on Jaime, so you're going to do this to me. But a part of me wondered, is that just your daddy issues talking? Maybe he actually does think you are worth more than being a drunk punchline machine.
I don't believe it at all for a second, because okay. I'm fully with Tyrion on this one, in that Tywin has not demonstrated any sort of behavior that would suggest that he's going to be like, you know what, maybe my imp son, who I'm habitually embarrassed about, is coming around and I'm going to be the good guy. There's such a coldness to Tywin that I wouldn't believe that. When all that happened, my thought was there's an ulterior motive here. Tywin's playing a long game where he's sending Tyrion back, and he's going to give him a little bit of power, but there's something else here. There's a reason why he's doing it. He's not doing it because he's nice or because he believes in Tyrion. He's doing it because there's
his golden son he thinks will be executed, and he needs a replacement.
Yeah, there's something else at play here in Tywin's mind.
I disagree. I actually think that, I don't think Tywin is going to be warm. That's just not him. I think he sees Tyrion can have some use and might as well be made use out of him. I'm not sure it's that, like, I think he might have done this even if Jaime had not been in danger, because Jaime's not good at being a hand of a king, making decisions, and that's not yet anyway, doing the smart thing. Tyrion is. I think Tyrion might see that. I kind of like the interpretation that Tyrion is screwing himself a bit and jumping to the worst conclusion. I'm not saying Tywin likes Tyrion. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clear. But I think Tywin might have a little more faith in Tyrion now that he's done some of this stuff. And just because Tyrion is so conditioned to think that Tywin couldn't possibly see anything useful or good in him, he jumps to, you give it up on Jaime, you bastard.
Yeah, the conditioning of Tyrion being bastardized his entire life. And it ties into the theme we talked about with Daenerys in the previous chapter, about how these characters who are supposed to be smarter than everybody else, or thinks they're smarter than everybody else, are falling into these very normal-ish tropes where Tyrion's a smart guy, but he's not bigger than holding this grudge where he's so right about everything. He's like, I'm absolutely right about this Tywin thing, which ultimately he may be wrong about. So I kind of like these flaws that the characters can't see within themselves, because they're supposed to be these perfect people in these stories,
right.
And even someone as smart as Tyrion has cracks in himself that he can't see.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. By the way, Kimberly says that Tyrion is a great chess player, most of all the Lannisters. Meant chess, but fun typo, as has been pointed out. And Fatma never understood Tywin's irrational hatred for Tyrion. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I think I do, and we'll get into it. Like, Tywin's just so big on pride and looking respectable, and just he sees a dwarf son as just like an embarrassment. Like, it's not going to happen. Or perhaps Tyrion's right. Maybe if it's what I have, then I'll have to go with it. And the daddy issues come up again in and I think a much more clear way at the end of the chapter, when Tywin gives Tyrion, it's an important job. He is sending him to King's Landing to make sure Joffrey doesn't do anything else that's really dumb, like execute any more hands of the king, which is why we're in this situation. Like, that's a big job, that he's going to mind the king. He's going to have power. He's going to be able to, he says, if Varys or Littlefinger or Pycelle step to line, kill them. Like, he's given a license to kill. Like, he's given him power. But the one thing he says, do not take that whore to court. Do not take Shay with you. And the last line of the chapter is, of course, Tyrion going up to Shay and saying, hey, we're going to King's Landing. So Tywin gives Tyrion all this power and tells him, you can have it, but do not do this one thing. And Tyrion immediately does it. Why?
Because he's Tyrion. That's his thing, the daddy issues. I kind of like that. That's Tyrion's personality. And again, kind of ties into this thing where he can be this character who is, more often than not, the smartest character in the room, and also have these just horribly, juvenile and immature behaviors and ways of acting. So I didn't hate it.
I ultimately know what happens.
So
exactly. And we know that this does end up being, like, Shay ends up testifying against him. Like, it dooms him. And it inspires his big confession, which gets him into the trial by combat, which makes him leave the city, and blah, blah, blah. Like, he would have been better not taking her to court. But it's like, because his dad told him not to, he just can't help it. He has to. He cannot obey his dad. It's not in him. He hates him too much. They're too complicated. And I just love it, Josh. I love their relationship. I think it's really so great. Messed up and twisted and weird, and like no one likes each other, and it's all kinds of gooey and complicated. This is a great example of that.
Does Tywin die on the pooper in
Of course,
the book?
are you kidding?
Okay,
They
good.
didn't invent that.
I didn't know if they invented that for the show or not. So
No, that's
all
not something
right.
you just like pull out in your writer's room meeting. No, that was definitely there. It's very similar to how.
Well, that's the perfect, and then there you go. That's the perfect way for that relationship to end too. It's literally a crappy relationship that ends on the crapper. So
I will tell you to pay attention to Shay though, because she has basically the same role, but she's pretty different in the books.
Okay.
Her attitude's very different, and we'll see how that goes going forward.
Okay.
Beyond that, this chapter is, again, like I said, mostly follow through and setup.
Yeah.
Like, it's these people talking about what happened. Like, the first third of it is just them talking about a battle we do not see, where Robb Stark kind of cuts around where they were fighting, goes to River Run, where Jaime was trying to besiege it, and breaks the siege, captures Jaime, and we saw a little bit of that, but not most. Do you think... Oh, and we also learned that Renly has married Marjorie.
Yep.
Do you think we should have seen any of that stuff? Because it's pretty big events. Like, Renly's saying, I'm king. Like, that's a big deal. That could be a big enemy.
Yeah.
And, Robb Stark comes in and smashes Jaime and smashes the siege at River Run.
I kind of like...
That could have been a fun thing.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree, but I kind of like the idea of this being hearsay, like whispers coming back
Yeah, me
to
too.
these powerful people who are then becoming paranoid by what they're hearing. Renly is a threat to the throne. You've got Robb in the north doing these things. And instead of seeing them, it's like the old horror trope where it's more devastating to not see somebody killing somebody off screen, and hearing them scream is more brutal than actually
Right.
seeing them killed on screen. This is that same thing where it's Tywin hearing these things, and by default us hearing it through him, instead of seeing it, we're imagining this paranoia more vividly because all these things are happening. We don't know what's true, what's not, how close these things are to happening, how truly important they are, and it kind of feeds into this feverish paranoia of probably what Tywin feels all the time, being that this one of the most powerful people in Westeros.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it too because it keeps the book from sprawling.
Yeah,
Like
too.
George R. R. Martin said that the reason he did it that way is because he already gave you a battle from up close with Tyrion, and again the spike of the horse.
Yeah.
He gave you a battle of Catelyn watching it,
Yep.
and he's like, okay, now we'll do it just off screen, and off screen, whatever you want to call it, and that'll be 3 kinds of battles, 3 different ways, which
I like that.
keeps it snappy.
Yeah.
Corinne, by the way, says Tywin is just using Tyrion. He knows he could possibly control Joffrey, unlike his mother. I agree with you, Karen. I think
yep.
Tywin does see use in Tyrion. Doesn't mean he likes him, never that. But I do think he's appreciating Tyrion, and that Tyrion is just he can't come to grips with that. And Julie Davis agrees with Karen. All right, we're all there.
All right.
And of course, Corinne says the Lannisters are the definition of family dysfunction. They are, and God bless them for it. The other thing I wanted to point out just really quick is there's good dialogue here. Like it's very expository. Like they're just talking about what happened.
Yeah.
But there's some fun little bon mots in there. Like they introduced a dude named Sir Harris Swift, who will come back. He's not in the show, but he is in the books.
Harris Swift.
Harris Swift.
It's a great name.
And I just like that they're all talking about like, oh, so this happened, so we should march this way, or should we offer peace? But Harris Swift's only contribution is yelling, "How could it happen? Sir Jaime taken, the siege broken. This is a catastrophe." Like, ever been in a meeting where some person, their only contribution is to whine?
Yeah.
And like you're not offering anything. Like that's all he does. I thought that was pretty funny.
He's Bill Paxton. Game over, man. Game over. There you
Great.
go.
So can we do something about it? So I liked him, and he'll recur, which is
Okay.
fun.
Awesome.
I also like Tyrion's line. What was it like? Take heart, father. At least Rhaegar Targaryen is still dead. Like, Tyrion. He's always poking little holes.
Great.
And Julie says, but remember, Tyrion always goes back to defending his family. It's true.
true.
It might end up being really important in the near future of Game of Thrones. We'll just have to see that. All right, so that was, Oh, and I have to say that Tywin calls Varys a cockless wonder. It sounds like it's important to point out.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't think that made it into the show. It does sound kind of like anachronistic.
It does. I wish that you could have eulogized them, kind of the slow motion at the Oscars where they have the picture and then just put that quote up there. That's the last thing that he said. There you go. That's how we're going to remember Tywin. So.
Exactly. Anything else, Josh, you noted about this chapter?
No, a lot of table setting. It did feel like when you get to the end of a movie where kind of like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, where there's going to be another one, and you're in the last 15 minutes of the movie, and it's kind of like your
That's
table setting for window
totally
dressing.
what it is.
Yeah, so you get characters coming in and saying these things. You're like, ooh, there's more action, but I definitely know I'm not going to see it until the next movie comes up. So that's kind of what this chapter felt like.
Well, right now, that's like what we're doing now,
Yeah.
basically. We're doing like the tail end of Sansa's story, set up for the next one. We're just at the tail end of Tyrion's. Next is the last Jon chapter, the tail end of Jon's chapter.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks. I think we'll take next week, Halloween, off for Song of the Night and Josh. We will be here for Take the Black Live. More Game of Thrones news, more Song of Ice and Fire news. We're available on iTunes, Google Play. You can join the Wick Club for even more super cool content. And I will see you next week here at 4 o'clock on Take the Black Live on the Going to my Facebook page. Thanks for watching, everybody.